Hey, what's up? My name's Lucas and I am a photographer and filmmaker based out of West Michigan. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm sharing my first impressions on a camera that is almost 6 years old, and that's the Leica M10. So I bought this camera about 2 weeks ago, and I got it as a replacement to my Fujifilm X100V to be my everyday carry. And that's exactly what I've been doing with it for the past 2 weeks. I've been using it every single day and bringing it almost everywhere I go. And I've got to say, I love this camera. It feels so intuitive. It really does feel like I'm using my M6, just a much heavier version of it because it's got a sensor, it's got a screen, there's a lot more electronics involved in the M10. But I've been really enjoying carrying this camera with me, and I feel like there's a few things that are on it that just make me really enjoy this camera. Part of that is the larger viewfinder. I wear glasses, and it really helps having a larger, brighter viewfinder. Now, a little bit of backstory on my M6. I still have the original viewfinder on that, so it does flare quite a bit, and that's not been like a huge issue for me, but it's definitely, I'm noticing it more after going back and using it after using my M10. As far as the design goes, I absolutely love it. The only thing that I don't like is the shutter speed dial is opposite of my M6, and that's kind of annoying, especially because I'm going to be using this one more often than my M6. I guess with my SL2 and my SL2S, I have them set to stop down in the same direction as on my M6. And maybe I could switch it so that my M6 is the one that's kind of the odd one out. But I do wish that all of my aperture dials stopped down in the same direction. That's just one of those minor inconvenience things. As far as the sensor goes, I'm really impressed. It's the Mark II of whatever the Leica sensors are. And I was a little bit nervous going with like a 6-year-old camera as my everyday carry, but this is absolutely a professional camera, and I love shooting on it. I've shot it at pretty low light, and I've been able to bring the image back, and honestly, like, it's not my SL2S, I'll say that, but for my use case, this is almost a perfect camera. A few things that are kind of quirky, and it's totally just me. The pop-up ISO ring is maybe a little gimmicky, but I don't necessarily dislike it. I like to be able to just set it and use it kind of like film, and I think that's the intention of it, is you kind of set it and then you use your aperture and your shutter speed to compensate for exposure as opposed to using your ISO. And I think that that's really one of the things that I love about film, is it kind of like locks you in to ISO, and you have to be intentional about what you're shooting and when you're shooting. And this is kind of a mini extension of that. Now, obviously, you can change it and everything. As far as the technology goes on this, it doesn't feel outdated at all. Part of that is because it's just, there's 3 dials on it, and that controls the majority of the camera. I've got it set up so that I don't have an image review, mostly because I'm left-eye dominant, and if I take a picture, the image comes and just blasts my right eye, and it's really distracting. And one of the things that I love about using rangefinder is I'm on screens all day. I'm on a screen editing this video. I work as a photographer and filmmaker. I'm constantly editing. I'm on my phone, and the rangefinder takes me away from screens. It puts me through pieces of glass and puts me in the environment that I am in, and I feel like I can be a little bit more present with my family or when I'm traveling, and I really love that, and that means a lot to me. So I turn off the image review And really, like, I've got center weighted metering, try to keep it as similar to the M6 as possible. And the rest is pretty much, I don't touch. Shooting full raw, and the capture assists I don't really care about because I'm not using the screen very much. I'll use the screen to kind of peek at images and make sure that I got it proper exposure and focus. But other than that, I'm really not using the screen very often. One of the things that was kind of funny, when I first got this camera, I was taking some pictures of my wife and my newborn son, and I'm like sitting there minutes after I took the pictures of her, and I'm editing those pictures, and she goes, "What? Did you already develop a roll of film from that camera?" And I love that. I love that it feels and it looks, and it's kind of unobtrusive. Even in the silver, I feel like people just, it's an unassuming camera, but it's beautiful and elegant at the same time. And I really like that. I love carrying it with me. And even as far as other cameras go, there's not a bunch of dials and things. I'm very, like, I have ADHD and I get very overstimulated very easily. And so to have something that is just clean, it's got the 3 dials, it's got on off, and I can just focus on the moment that I'm in is great. So I've been really, really loving this camera, and I wanted to share a few images. The Leica world is really unique, I feel like. I have been spending a lot of time talking to my dad about this. He actually, and my dad's been a commercial photographer for 40, 50 years at this point. And he used to shoot on Leica. And I've got some really cool old photos of him in the 70s and the 80s with like an M2 and a M4. And he came over, and he refers to this camera as our camera now, which is funny because I don't remember him paying for it. But it's that just kind of brings me into the legacy of Leica. So he gave me, I've got this 28mm viewfinder. It's kind of funny that we both gravitated towards that focal length, and I think there's something cool about using something that connects you to history. And that's one of the things that I love about Leica in general, is they are rooted in history, and they have taken the same design and they haven't really messed with it. They've improved upon it over the years, and there's something that I feel like it connects me to heritage, in a sense, heritage through design, heritage through history, and I really like that aspect. And there's a lot more depth, I feel like, in carrying around these M bodies for me than any other camera has been. But that being said, I just like the way that they look. It inspires me to shoot more and to take more pictures and be more intentional about the images that I take. So I kind of held off on buying this camera for a long time because I felt like they came out with the M11, and if I'm gonna buy one, I want to get the new one anyways. And it just, like, one being double the price of this camera changed it for me. But at the end of the day, I love this camera. I didn't get the M11 because, frankly, I can't afford it, and I don't necessarily need the features that are on it that are the upgrades from the M10. Would it be nice to have the triple resolution sensor? Absolutely. Would it be nice to have USB charging? Yeah, I love USB charging. That is, like, the world moving to USB charging is just a good thing. But at the end of the day, those are really the only two things that I'm missing on this camera, along with, like, a updated sensor, a modern sensor with a better low light performance. But I'm fine with that. I love the M10, and I think as far as this camera goes, I can take it on my professional shoots. I can do BTS scenes. I can feel confident shooting behind the scenes, but also using it for professional work. It's 100% a professional camera, and I'm really, really, really enjoying shooting with it and using it as my everyday carry. I'm excited to continue documenting my everyday life with it and shooting some projects with it. And if you're interested in checking those out, go ahead and check out my Instagram down below. That is where I'm going to be sharing a lot of that type of stuff, the pictures that I take with this camera. And if you've made it to this point, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch and participate in this mini community. So please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.